before I begin, first we need to be on the same page. Okay. Most people have talked so far and like, Vamsi, what's wrong with you? Huh? Country is doing fine. In fact, we are the fourth largest economy in the world. There's a problem with that statement. It is very misleading. The metric that is used to say this we are the fourth largest economy and all is GDP, gross domestic product. How this GDP is calculated is we take the investments that went into the country, we take the exports we have done, we take the spending that was done by our people and the government, do a summation. That gives GDP. Okay, it doesn't really reveal all the aspects of the country. And we can't simply use the GDP and say, oh, we are the fourth largest economy and all. A lot of economists already pointed out that. There are a lot of articles. I will keep that in the description. Okay, fine. You're still not convinced. Let's go with something called GDP per capita, which is a different metric. And you take GDP and you simply divide it with the population of the country. It will give the GDP per capita. Now, based on GDP per capita, where do you think our country stands? Can you guess? Again, top five? Because this is top five. What about that? That will also be top five, right? No, we are in the 119th place. Why is that? Why is there a drastic difference between this metric and that metric? Because GDP per capita is the measure of the number for an average guy in the country. Whereas GDP is just a summation of all these numbers. Okay, forget about GDP because it doesn't cover the entire story. What about HDI, Human Development Index? It takes in account of three factors. One, education. Two, healthcare. Three, standard of living. Okay. So based on HDI, where should we be? Because we are the fourth largest economy, where should we be in when it comes to HDI? At least top 10, right? Our rank again drops to 100 plus. We go to 130 position. Now, why is this data not coinciding with each other? Because we have huge inequality in the country. In fact, the top 1% of the country contributes to the 40% of the net wealth. That is how much difference we have in our country. So don't tell me that, oh no, India is growing, India is doing well, we have good government and all. I don't know about the government, I don't want to comment on that, but there are a lot of problems still exist. Poverty exists, unemployment exists, all these issues exist. So this video is about me talking about them and how I can fix some of the issues mentioned here. Not sure whether these solutions might work or not, but at least this is the thing that I want to do. And if you are interested, please continue watching the video or else please stop. Thank you. Let's start with some of the flaws in democracy. The first one is my personal favorite. Democracy treats all as equals, which sounds really good on paper, but in reality, we know that's not true. Most people in our country doesn't even get basic schooling. So when we have scenario like this, giving a same say for even someone who works at ISRO and someone who went to jail and came back multiple times when it comes to choosing the leader, how is this a fair thing? That's the first problem. And this is what fundamentally gives rise to cynicism among the educated. That's the reason why most of the educated people won't even vote, right? Because they feel like anyway in our country, we have this thing called caste-based politics and religion-based politics. So my one vote doesn't really make difference. Doesn't really much make difference, right? So why should I even vote? So because of this, they won't even participate in elections. And it is actually valid, right? If you think about it. So their cynicism is completely valid. And then there comes this concept called nota. Even I recently learned about this concept from my friend. So why nota exists? Yes. Let's say there is a party which says that I will do welfare and they steal money. And then there is another party which will say I'll do development and then they steal money. So when we have a scenario like this, when we have no belief in the people who participated in the elections, who contested for the elections, then even then we have to go and cast our vote. In that case, we need to cast our vote to nota. Okay. Now by casting our vote to nota, what do we get? Anyway, the majority won't go for nota. They will always go for some major party, right? So what's the point of casting our vote to nota? Then if I really have to go and cast our vote to nota, then what's the point of even going and casting the vote? I'll just stay at my home and enjoy the leave or something like that, right? So my friend explained me that it is very important to cast your vote, and even though if it is for nota, we have to do it. The reason is, let's say a lot of people had voted for nota. In that case, what happens is that will motivate people who might come into politics. Okay, so the vote share of nota will motivate the people who might come into politics. So because they might think like, yeah, so people don't have belief in either of the major parties, so let me contest in the election. So there is a chance of someone like that coming in, participating in the elections for the next term cycle, because there is a decline in the trust of this major parties. I didn't get convinced for this because it's a very slow process. It might work. I don't think it will work, but it's a very slow process, right? So these are some of the main important flaws in democracy. Okay, now let's see how we can fix them. How to fix this, or how to fix anything in general, is one side we have users or customers. On the other side, we have something that they want. Now, the reason why the user or the customer is not getting what they want is because of the friction that exists between them. And this friction is basically a combination of the pain points that they have, which is stopping them from getting what they want. Okay, so whoever reduces this friction, whoever solves this pain point, whoever provides a better, faster, cheaper way of getting what the user wants, they get paid. That is what all startups are all about. And whenever we reduce this friction, there will be a change in human behavior. You don't believe me? Let me give you an example. Just a couple of years back, no one used to trust online payments. No one used to do online payments. No one used to buy anything from online in India. They used to say, oh, online, it might be a scam. And then Amazon came. It changed everything. Now almost every payment that we do is online payment only. We buy a lot of things online. So what Amazon did is, it reduced the friction It was able to build trust that if you pay me prior to the delivery, still you get the delivery. It's not a scam. So Amazon was able to reduce the friction. Amazon was able to give user what it wants, what they want, by solving their pain points. Take Uber for example. Right from our childhood, we were taught that don't even talk to strangers. Okay, but today we go on to the cars that were driven by some random stranger, and Uber is the reason for that. So whenever we do something better, faster, cheaper, there will be a change in human behavior. So we just have to figure out what to do better, faster, cheaper, so that there will be a change in human behavior in both common people and the politicians. People will have power for only one day for every 5 years. What if we change that? What if people get to keep that power every single day of their life? So that's the basic, simple idea. What if we can change our votes? What if we start looking democracy as a data problem? Okay. What if we categorize our votes in separate categories: uneducated people votes, educated people votes, and high achievers, without giving up on equality? We don't have to give up on equality. Still, everybody gets the same vote, but the vote itself has a separate shade, different color, or different type. So why we need this is, take any Indian family, middle class, lower middle class Indian family. There will be a blend of educated people and uneducated people. Usually older people are uneducated, younger people are educated. If you look at the family, usually the older uneducated people will listen to the younger educated people, and we can take that fact and simply extrapolate over entire family. So what if we can change our votes, and what if we can categorize our votes into separate categories while still keeping the equality? Then what happens is, the people who are uneducated, which is the majority, will see where the most of the educated and high achievers votes are going, and they might update their votes to that particular candidate or the party, because they know that these are educated people, high achievers, who know what to do with the country. They might take well informed decisions and all. Of course, not all might be good and correct, but when you take an average out of it, usually educated and high achievers will make a better choice, right? Because their vote is not so easy. They can't simply buy these people vote, right? Buying uneducated people votes, buying poor people votes is somewhat easier. They're cheaper, right? And yeah, so when we have this freedom of changing votes, there won't be a scenario where the politicians come and buy the vote, because okay, they bought the vote for day one. They have to buy the vote for day two also, for day three, day end. They can't keep doing that. It's not scalable. So this will solve the issue of with note buying the vote. That is one thing. And one more thing is, wait, hold on, Momsi. Why will the government agree for this? Of course it won't agree. Of course the politicians won't allow it to happen. So who cares about government? We can do it on ourselves. I can do it. I can build a platform where people can come and cast their votes, change their votes and all. And yeah, and this votes doesn't have to be directly related to the real votes. It's just like Facebook likes, Twitter tweets and all. So they don't have any value in the objective reality, but they do something cool. They create speculation. They create speculation among people. That's what stock market does. Take stock market, even that operates on speculation, right? The stock price doesn't have anything to do with the real value of the company. It's just speculation of the people, right? So what if we take that model and apply it here? So what happens then is, of course, people side, the problem is solved. What about enforcing the accountability for the people who are in power, politicians? How are we going to do it is, this stock model will actually take care of that. Take Google, for example. So if you take ChatGPT, when ChatGPT was released, the stock price of the Google was dipped, right? And this forced the people who are in control at Google to do something. So they internally released something called Code Red. That is, in a long period of time, they finally had a competitor. So what they did is, by the end of the quarter, I guess, or the 1 or 2 quarters, they have released Gemini. So the stock price forced the people who are in control to take action. So if we simply take that model and apply it for the votes, instead of stock price, there will be vote share, right? So the stock price, just like how stock price goes up and down based on the sentiments of the market, same happens with the vote share. If we give it freedom to change the vote. Now, when that happens, the people who are in power wants to stay in power, and the people who are not in power wants to get the power. That's the whole point of being a politician. Politicians want power. It's not just money. Money they can make even by doing business. It is the power that they want. Now, to keep the power or to get the power, they will take actions. Good actions will result in better vote share. Bad actions will result in better vote shares. Simple. So this is one hypothesis we have. And the other thing about how we enforce accountability over them is, even for small kids, we have something called progress report card, which will tell how much this particular guy is progressing over the period of time. Companies have the same thing. They call it as quarterly result. So why not have this kind of reports for our politicians as well? Again, you will ask, why would they agree for this? Why will they do this? They don't have to do anything. We can do it ourselves using RTI, Right to Information Act. Using RTI, we can file RTI and get all the data related to how much funds got released, how much were actually used, how they were used, all this data, do some analysis and compare how much they promised that they will do and what they have done so far. So a progress report card for your local leader, like that for CM, PM, everyone we can do that. And we can publish those results. And based on those results, obviously there will be change in the votes. So the vote share will go up or down based on the results, obviously, right? So yeah, that is the solution. So the solution is basically three parts. One is RTI based newsfeed, and the other one is dynamic voting. The third one is called brainstorming. So this section, how it came into the picture is, once what happened was, my roommates had a party. They were drinking alcohol. There's nothing wrong with that. They are grown-up adults. They can take decisions for themselves. I didn't like it, and I went to a movie just to get out of the room. And then when I came back, my roommate asked, "Why you went out? What's your problem with us drinking alcohol?" I have a problem drinking with alcohol because it results in bad things, right? So a lot of people die because of drunk and drive cases, and we know that domestic violence happens because of alcohol. There's a direct correlation between that, right? So why doesn't government simply ban it, right? Why it doesn't do it? So I asked this question, and my roommate was like, "Are you stupid or what? There is a lot of revenue that alcohol brings in. Why would government ban it, right?" So immediately I was like super pissed because we are in a country where we have a lot of bright minds, right? In fact, we export some of our bright minds to other countries. We have people like ISRO scientists who can send satellites to moon and all. We have IITs. We have people who build companies. We have doctors, lawyers, CA, all these people. We have IASs. Are you really telling me that we can't figure out a way to make all that revenue without going by alcohol? So I asked this question, and he doesn't have an answer for that. So out of that scenario, I came up with this idea of brainstorming section. So what if people who have problem, they come and they post their problems here, and whoever is smart enough to solve their problems, they will simply solve their problems by giving a suggestion of what can be done. And people will do this. Smart people like to solve problems. That's what engineers do, at least. I don't really know about other professions, but engineers love to solve problems. Yeah. So three things. One is RTI based feed. Second one is dynamic voting. Third one is brainstorming. And we can use the optimal solution that comes out of this brainstorming section, and we can try to ask our political leaders and all to implement that solution. And if they doesn't implement that solution, if they simply ignore or something, then obviously their vote share dips, right? And next time they won't get elected because they didn't do anything, right? So when we have this kind of system, and one more thing, this kind of platform can only be built when we have the technologies like AI and blockchain. We can have AI-based moderators, because if we keep hiring human moderators to filter, to censor all the messages that were kept in brainstorming section, it is not scalable, right? One guy simply can come and say, this particular group of people are terrorists, we need to eliminate them. That kind of scenarios can happen. So right now, LLMs, AI is smart enough to do that kind of moderation at scale. And then we have this thing called blockchain, which allows us to build a completely transparent and a trustless platform. So without blockchain, we can't do this. It is only because of blockchain we can do this. And yeah, whoever is aware of blockchain, you get the point, right? And well, dream team. So to do all this, we need engineers who can build and solve problems, not build problems, who can build things and solve problems. And we need lawyers, obviously, and then we need activists. Activists already exist. There are a lot of people who fight for normal people, common people, poor people. So activists already exist, lawyers already exist, engineers already exist. We just need people to convince. We need to convince the people to donate some amount of money for us. That's how this whole system can sustain. So I am fully confident about this because there are a lot of people who are into philanthropy. There are a lot of people who actually cares about the country, but they don't know what to do. Right? A common man, what will he or she do? So by fixing all the flaws, by eliminating the pain points, by reducing the friction, we can change the human behavior. So that's what we are trying to do here.